What's up, Aggies? Welcome to Cash Rendezvous. I'm Hot Bailey.
And I'm Sassy Britta. Today here on Cash Rendezvous, we're going to explore all the vacation opportunities for students during spring break.
Let's start with exotic trips around the nation. If you had to guess, Britta, which of the 50 nifty states would you think is the happiest?
I think I've heard a lot of people smile in Rhode Island.
Yes. No. Well, a recent study rated states on their happiness. Kelsey Keller paid a visit to the state that took the #1 spot.
From January to December in 2011, U.S. adults found out how happy they were based on a nationwide phone survey. Then an average was taken for each of the 50 states. The survey is based on 5 categories: life evaluation, emotional health, work environment, healthy behaviors, and physical health. And for the 3rd straight year, Hawaii shook their way to the top as the happiest state. Hawaii only scored low in work environment, and maybe they could blame that on all of the exotic animals that are around, or perhaps the scenery, or maybe the warm weather that stays year-round. Whatever it is, Hawaii seems to have it figured out. One young tourist can see why living in Hawaii might leave a smile on her face.
I think they're happy because they have lots of fun things to do. We actually swam a lot, and we went on a really big hike, and it hurt my legs. And we went to the ocean and played with cats, and we went to the luau.
That's right, she said play with cats. And apparently, Hawaii claims that their cats are the happiest too. So maybe it's true that Hawaii is the happiest state. So if you're in the need to turn your frown upside down, maybe it's time to take a little trip to paradise. But to all you Utahns out there, don't fear. Utah came in as the 4th happiest state, and maybe next year we'll score even higher. See if we can beat the Aloha State. Kelsey Keller, Cash Rendezvous.
Overall, the western states seemed to score the highest on the happiness index, while the southern states came in at the lowest.
But you know what? If I went to Hawaii, I lived in Hawaii, I'd probably be the happiest, and I would never go anywhere else.
For sure.
So, well, you know, a lot of students do like to take tropical getaways during spring break.
And beaches and shorelines mean bikinis and tan lines.
But if you're unsure about what swimsuit would fit best,
check out these fun facts about the history of the swimsuit.
If everybody had a nose across the USA, then everybody'd be surfing USA.
Over the past 200 years, no item of clothing has changed as dramatically as the swimsuit. By today's standards, most women cover as little as possible, but in the early 1900s, it was quite the opposite. The act of swimming was nearly impossible since women wore heavy skirts paired with breeches or stockings. Suits were expected to be modest, and swimming was known as a man's sport. In fact, in the year 1907, Australian swimmer Annette Kellerman was arrested while in Boston, Massachusetts for indecent exposure. She was wearing a one-piece bathing suit in public. Kellerman fought hard for women to be able to wear safer garments in the water, and by the mid-1920s, the swimsuit was born, causing more and more ladies to take to the water. Over the next 20 years, fashion designers played with the plain one-piece swimsuit, changing it into quite the fashion statement. Designers continued to push limits, and in 1946, Louis Réard and Jacques Haim launched their controversial swimsuit, the bikini.
It was an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. An itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny yellow polka dot bikini, so in the water she wanted to stay.
The bikini grew in popularity, and in 1964, the first swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated was published. Through the years, we've gone from one-pieces to tankinis to bikinis. And while many women hate the thought of having to put their swimsuit on, At least they now have the choice of what to wear.
Which one? Well, what kind of swimsuit do you like to wear?
I'm kind of, I don't know, I don't go swimming a whole lot, but when I do, you know, like long, snorkel, whole, yeah.
Yeah, I just like to go in the nude.
Shocker.
When we come back, we'll show you fun things to do if your college pocketbook is too small to leave the state.
And what it takes to be gun safe in Utah. I don't know about you, Bailey, but I wasn't able to afford going anywhere exotic during spring break.
Well, I'm loaded, so I can go anywhere I want. Just kidding. There's actually quite a few things right here in Utah if you know where to look. Brianna Bodley took a tour around Utah to find out what our state can offer you during your next week of freedom.
This is probably what you imagine when you hear the words spring break. But in reality, many college students can't afford a view like this one. So when the classrooms and sidewalks are empty, what can you do to celebrate the break?
I think there's so many different things to do outdoors, especially.
Northern Utah alone has 12 ski resorts, 11 of which are still open. With such a slow start this year, skiers and snowboarders were eager to get out on the mountain.
I haven't been snowboarding at all this year, and I wanted to go. I'm not very good, so I need some practice for sure.
With a little bit of snow and a whole lot of sun, mountain lovers did everything from skiing like a pro to crashing like a champ.
I wrecked a lot, got worked over, but I know that I have a lot of work to do. It's been nice. I think actually in the sun at the beach would actually be better.
While northern Utah can still be described as frigid, if you head down south, there is more than enough sun to be had.
Warmer weather in St. George allows groups to venture out of their homes in less than a full ski parka.
From test driving their radio-controlled vehicles to rock climbing. One spot in particular is extremely popular. Locals call it the Red Crack. You don't climb more than 18 feet, but not everyone can handle a hike like this. Why? In some places, it squeezes down to 1.5 feet in width.
Climbing through or climbing out, people come from all over to challenge the crack in their own way. As you can see,
from snow to summer activities, Utah provides plenty to do on spring break.
Brianna Bodley, Cash Rendezvous.
Now, I prefer warmer places over colder.
I do too. I can't handle cold at all, ever.
Yeah, and even though this last winter's been mild, like still, if it's under 60 degrees, too cold for me.
Yeah,
pretty
I
much.
agree.
But you know, if you ever decide to try and spice things up and try warmer weather in Moab, there are several widely recognized landmarks that you should visit and a few places that are rarely seen. Ryan Humphreys grabbed his gear and went exploring.
Utah's Delicate Arch is one of the most popular sights to see in Arches National Park. The arch is displayed on Utah's license plate, and the Olympic torch even ran through it for the 2002 Winter Olympics. People from all around the world come to see this and other arches around the park. But Arches National Park isn't the only thing to see and do in Moab. You can climb and bike until your heart's content.
We're just climbing away. That's what we're doing today.
The rock in Moab is all sandstone, which makes it harder to climb on. Having all the right gear is a must. Wall Street is a popular climbing attraction just a few minutes outside of Moab. With all the activities there are to do, there are bound to be a few injuries.
Just a little blood, it's all.
Hey, what are those things that you see my seat over here? My broken arm.
National parks aside, there are plenty of secrets that are just waiting to be found all around Moab. Such as this dried up waterfall. There were 2 different rappels, and several ponds that were deep enough to jump in.
Yeah! Yeah!
The Slick Rock Trail just outside of Moab is a popular mountain biking destination with 10 miles of petrified sand dunes to ride around on. There are small jumps and fun hills to ride up and down. Ryan Humphreys, ATV News.
And you know, with Moab being less than 4 hours from Salt Lake, it definitely looks like a worthwhile place to check out.
Stay tuned, because coming up next, we've got your crazy spring weather.
Well, it was the first day of spring yesterday, and today it's even feeling like spring weather. And apparently it's even the perfect day for a zombie apocalypse, as you can see happening behind me. And luckily for us, we'll have more blue skies and sunshine ahead for the next few days at least. Let me get you excited by showing you the 5-day forecast. Now, as I hope you've already noticed, today we've had mostly sunny skies with a high of 60 degrees. The low for the day is 32. Tomorrow we'll get more sun to warm our pasty winter skin with a high of 67 and a low of 39. Friday, the temperatures will continue to creep up. The high will be 70 degrees and the low 46. We should see some clouds in the sky on Friday as well. Saturday we'll continue to see partly cloudy skies, and we might even see a few anxious people busting out their swimsuits because the high will be 71 degrees and the low 47. Sunday will also be a warmer day with partly cloudy skies. We'll get a high of 72 and a low of 45. So it looks like this weekend you'll get the chance to enjoy the outdoors with some nice weather. And I would take advantage of it too, because April Fool's Day is fast approaching and you never know if Mother Nature will decide to play a mean trick on us all. Well, that's all I have for weather. Stick around for more Cash Rendezvous after this break.
Well, Bailey, when you hear the phrase spring break, what do you think of?
I think of sleeping in every single day and not going to class when I don't need to.
Yeah, well, you know, most people think of like relaxing on a beach or going somewhere warm, but for me, my spring break was a bit less traditional. While everyone else was catching some sun, I was in Salt Lake in my internship with Channel 2 News with Roxanne Vainuku.
It's 11 a.m. and we're finally headed out on our story. If you want to get into the news, it doesn't get any more real than this. As an intern, sometimes it can be easy to just sit in the back and watch, but it's more important to sit forward and participate. And things don't always go as expected.
Hey Veronica, it's Roxanne with Channel 2.
Story on.
Hello.
Story off.
They're still holding. Yes.
Story on again.
Worked our way in. We are on our way.
You always want to make friends with a photog because they can make or break the experience for you.
Show the people what interns do. You carry equipment. Until you learn the drill, that's what you do.
When the reporter is interviewing, you want to pay attention and learn all you can from how she asks questions and relates with the people. And when you get back in the news truck, ask for advice.
That's like 99% of our job. Cut out the sucky stuff and get the good stuff. Amen. Amen to that.
The most exciting part was we had something no other station had.
This is my get. Please don't talk to anybody else. You told me you won't. Don't. I'm going to be nervous all day about this, you know?
Once you have the interviews and footage, that's when the writing and editing frenzy begins.
I'm too busy editing this package in 20 minutes.
Then it's time to quickly set up the live shot for the 5 o'clock news. After the live shot, you can finish off the day with a stand-up of your own for your audition reel. Her life, and not on the way that she died. And of course, there's no better feeling than passing up the competition.
Well, the news never stops, even if school might take some time off. But even though I didn't get a break, I still had a lot of fun.
Have you ever found something like a bracelet or a book and wondered who the owner was?
I don't know, but at a lost treasure exhibit, a professor and his students are doing just that with art and finding not only the owner, but the stories behind the art.
With the sound of the piano playing in the background, visitors can observe lost treasures of Utah State University that have been displayed for all to see. It all started with this 1968 piece.
It started really more than a year ago when I became aware of this particular work of art that's right behind me that was hanging in an office here in the Chase Fine Arts Center. And I It was a curious piece. I was impressed by it, and I thought it was kind of humorous in some ways, and I was trying to find out who had done it.
Not all of the art were paintings. A variety of pottery and old records were displayed in the exhibit. Because of the exhibit's uniqueness, it has become a hit.
I think this was a good exhibition and generated a certain amount of excitement and interest. There was a steady stream of people that attended the opening reception that we had, and I've gotten personally a number of emails or cards that people sent me, in many cases suggesting works that we might have included that we didn't.
Many of the art pieces in the exhibit have been sitting in storage for years.
It's about time that these have come out, and it's time for the public to see them. Many of the artworks here have quite the good story behind them. A few are shrouded in mystery.
I just think it's a great opportunity to come see work that has been created in the past, probably the last like 40 years or more.
Some pieces have photographs next to them showing the artist creating the piece, while others are fairly recent. Frankie Morris is one of the artists that have been identified for her work. The exhibit will be open till March 22nd. Some of the art depicts stories, while others simply stun you. Although a majority of the pieces have the artist's name that created it, there is still that one that is a mystery. Romina Nadakovich, Cash, Rendezvous.
The exhibit's last day is this Friday.
And even if you miss it, there's one next year.
And stay tuned because right after this, we've got ATV Sports.
Hey Aggies, welcome to ATV Sports on Cash Rendezvous. There is plenty of action over spring break, and we have some postseason successes and mishaps. Let's start with the latter. Utah State Hockey was in Florida over the break for the ACHA National Tournament. The skaters picked up 2 losses and a tie in the pool round to send them right back to Utah. The news from the basketball WAC championships wasn't good either. Both men's and women's teams lost in the early rounds, sending them home. But the WAC losses weren't the end of either team's seasons. The women took on Utah in the first round of the NIT, losing, while the men are still alive in the collegeinsider.com tournament. Aggie basketball is still going on as the guys are in the semifinals of the CIT tournament, but Brady Jardine still sits on the bench with his crutches watching the guys try and take the championship without him. Bailey McMurdy had the opportunity to sit down with Brady and some of his closest friends to talk about his experience going from star player to taking his permanent seat on the bench.
He had so much energy and such massive plays and great rebounds and everything, and he was such an intricate part of this team. Looking at the other team, be like, why are you even walking in here trying to lay it up when Brady Jardine's in? I mean, don't even try.
He's a special, special man, you know, and I love that kid to death.
What happened?
It was just a freak thing in the first play of the game. Morgan Grimm was making a post move, and I just spun around my guy to get post position for a rebound. I actually watched it today for the first time. I saw it on video, and I just planted. When I planted, the guy that was guarding me kind of knocked me in the back a little bit, and I kind of came off balance, and I twisted my foot, and when I twisted, I felt something kind of rip across the top.
I just felt like it's okay, this is going to be just a little tweak, and he'll just walk it off, and be back soon.
You know, play basketball, you have sprains all the time. You have ankle sprains, you have foot sprains, and it just happens. And it didn't really feel any different than any of them that I'd had before. And so all that was going through my mind is I was frustrated I wasn't in the game, to be honest. I was frustrated I wasn't playing in the Southern Utah game.
And then as it progressed into a longer thing, I just felt Brady's impatience and his frustration. And then I guess ultimately when we found out it would be career ending, at least here at Utah State, it was just sad.
It was one of those things that, I mean, he tells you that, and it just doesn't seem real. I mean, I've played my whole life, and for a doctor to tell me you probably won't play again, I wanted to say, you don't know what you're talking about.
It was sad for him that he doesn't get to do what he loves to do anymore. Sad for me that I don't get to watch him do what he loves to do anymore. Just sad all around.
I'm still just kind of numb because it still doesn't feel real. I still feel like I'm going to be back out there one of these days.
Oh man, it tore me up. I felt horrible for him. I loved watching him play.
When he first was telling me about how he had to come out early of his redshirt year, you know, and I just feel like he has so much potential and he can do so much for the university. Whoever's going to fill his spot's got really big shoes to fill, because if you can't, they need to be able to dunk like Brady.
It just sucks, you know what I mean? And it just reminds you how the athletes here, you know, they are human and they put their bodies on the line, you know. They really put forth 110% effort to bring home that W and really represent the Aggie blue and fighting white that's on their jerseys.
I've been so blessed and so fortunate to be with solid guys I love to death, that really have been a huge blessing in my life, and that I'll never forget and will always be close because of what we've gone through. And again, winning games is a small part of it, but the experiences that we had, the things that we did together is what you'll never forget.
Thanks for that, Bailey. It's hard to see your career taken away from a kid with such talent. We wish Brady and his family all the best and good luck with his future endeavors. The Aggies took on the University of Idaho last Saturday. Brady Jardine was on hand to watch his team take on Idaho in the second round of the CIT tournament. The Aggies were led by Preston Medlin, who scored 17 points and showed off his versatility as a three-point shooter as well. Brockheath Payne also dished out a career-high 11 assists on the night. The Aggies led for the entire game, winning by a score of 76-56. The win pushes the Aggies to 4 games over 500 for the first time this year. Well, the Aggies play again tonight against Loyola Marymount, and one of the boosters, one of the Utah State boosters, actually paid for all of the students to get in free. So
I think that was
pretty
definitely
cool.
way cool. $20,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Awesome. That's awesome.
We'll update you on how basketball does tonight on next week's edition of ATV Sports. Britta, how do you feel about guns, though?
I don't know. I love guns, because I shot him with my dad, but I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what context you're talking about.
True. Well, Randall Henry's here with the story about gun safety.
Guns. For some sports enthusiasts, there's nothing better than taking the gun out and firing off a few shells. But it's important to remember safety during this time. Here are a few helpful tips. Knowing your gun is important, and remember to bring eye protection as well as ear protection. Jacob Pack, our local gun enthusiast, has more tips for you.
Most important thing about firearm safety is knowing how to use your weapon and to keep it pointed in the right direction. By right direction, I mean either at the ground or what you're intending to shoot at. Now, once you've got that figured out, every firearm has a safety device, such as this one here. Safety device determines whether the weapon will shoot or not. Most safety devices can be identified by a little red dot or some other red coloring. Red meaning it is ready to fire. If the red is hidden or it is white, it means it is unsafe. So with the rifle pointed downrange or to the ground, you're going to insert the magazine. Most magazines will normally go in the bottom of the weapon. There are a few examples to this, particularly if the weapon does not have a magazine. Once the magazine is securely inserted, you are going to charge the weapon. This implies pulling back the charging handle, which will pull back the bolt and put a round into the chamber. At this point, you can take the weapon off safe, aim the weapon, and fire at your target.
Clearly, there's nothing downrange that I'd regret shooting at, so I'm going to attempt to take a few shots safely and effectively. Here's hoping for the best. This has been Randall Henry with Cash Rendezvous.
Well, thanks for watching Cash Rendezvous. I'm Bailey McMurdy.
And I'm Britta Anderson. We'll leave you with a live cam shot of the quad of zombies versus humans.